let's talk about something completely random. I'm Rebecca Farnum, this is Ramblings with Rebecca, and today we're going to ramble about GMOs for a while. GMOs. What? Genetically modified organisms. Help! They're Frankenfood! Or, yay, they're going to save the planet! There's tons of debate over GMOs, there's tons of hype, the media goes crazy, we go crazy, and I don't think anyone actually really necessarily knows what's going on all that well. And there are people who do a lot on it, GMOs, and know quite a lot about them, but I think they tend to know quite a lot about one perspective of them. And I certainly fit into that category. This is not my main topic of interest or scholarship. It's something that is on the fringes of most of the disciplines that I work in. It's not on the fringes. All of the disciplines that I work in have a lot of scholarship on GMOs, therefore it's on the fringes of my scholarship because I can't read, classical texts in my disciplines without acknowledging GMO debates and that kind of thing. Anyway, so today, a brief overview of GMOs and some potentially controversial thoughts from Becca. Hurrah! What are they? GMOs, genetically modified organisms. Organisms whose genetic material has been modified. I know, deep. It's that simple. It's also that complex because people have been modifying their food for a really long time. Genetically modified organisms, with just that phrase, is not a new thing at all. Since the invention of agriculture, we've been tweaking and, trying to make the right kind of food that we want. And generally, though, when people say genetically modified organisms, they're thinking about the genetic tweaking that we've done with very modern biotechnology kind of means. So rather than the selective breeding that we do on our fruit flies and lima beans in elementary and high school, they're worried about things like radiation and chemicals being used to get at that genetic modification. But for the most part, genetically modified organisms are pretty much just the selective breeding, but done more forcefully. And yes, sometimes they do use chemicals and radiation. And we tend to be scared of words like chemicals and radiation. We use it a lot. Microwave? Pharmaceuticals? Coffee? Just saying. Chemicals and radiation, not always bad things or necessarily unhealthy things. There are bad kinds of radiation, there are good kinds of radiation, etc. Generally speaking, scientists are pretty sure of the fact that the GMOs and the ways in which some scientists use radiation and chemicals to genetically tweak organisms is not harmful for humans or for consumption, for the most part. So I think, freakouts over Frankenfood and, neon orange lettuce and that kind of thing is not the right thing to be concerned about with GMOs. This is not to say that GMOs are universally fantastic. There are some major concerns. Most of them, for me, actually, though, are around ecological and rights-based issues. So I, the consumer, am almost certainly not going to be harmed by getting a genetically modified strawberry. Instead, I'll get one that, can grow with a bit less water and is bigger and maybe less sweet, and that would be depressing, but also maybe more sweet, and that would be fantastic. Who may hurt over GMOs, though, are the poorer farmers who are getting bought out or who can't afford or can't compete against certain markets now. Or the farmer half a world away that has crossbred over generations a pair, right, and has this fantastic pair, and suddenly some big corporation patents the genetic modification formula for that pair, and suddenly he's bizarrely somehow in violation of intellectual property rights. That was a very simplistic scenario, but there are concerns over what it means when corporations get to do things like patent a tomato. And there's also the ecological concern of biodiversity. Farmers have been debating about monocultures for a long time. What does it mean if, we're just making all of our own organisms, essentially, and not letting nature do any evolution? So there are economic and ecological concerns, but there's not necessarily terror.